My parents left me there in the dust of that dirt road, like someone abandoning a stray dog. But they didn't know they were delivering me to my destiny. Hey folks, sometimes I sit here on the porch, watching these cattle graze, and it feels like my whole life passed in the blink of an eye. I'm 78 years old, and today I need to make a decision I've been putting off for 7 decades. I'm holding 2 things here: a yellowed photo of my parents, the only one I have, and a letter that arrived yesterday. A letter from a grandson I didn't even know existed. If you're listening to this story, give it a thumbs up so it reaches more people. Sometimes a story like this can help someone who really needs it. The wind here carries that smell of earth after rain, of cattle, of fresh grass, but it also brings memories, some that hurt, others that heal. It was 1953. I was 7 years old and so hungry I wasn't even crying anymore. My dad stopped that old beat-up Ford right in front of the gate of Oakwood Ranch. I remember the taste of dust in my mouth, that hot sun burning my back. Dad got out of the car. His hands were shaking when he pulled me out. "Stay here, boy. Someone's going to take better care of you than we can." My mother didn't even turn around, not once. They drove away, kicking up that cloud of dust that made me cough until it hurt. And I stayed there alone, with just the clothes on my back and a photo of them in my pocket, a birthday present I kept like a treasure. The wooden gate creaked in the wind. From the other side came strange sounds, lowing that scared me. I'd never seen cattle up close in my life. To me, those were creatures from another world. I spent the whole night there, curled up like a scared kitten. Every sound was like thunder in my chest. I kept looking down that dirt road, expecting to see that Ford coming back. They'll come back, I thought. They just went to get food. I only passed out when hunger became stronger than fear. I woke up with someone gently shaking me. "Boy, hey there, boy. You okay? How'd you end up here?" I opened my eyes and saw a man about 55 years old, graying beard, worn cowboy hat. His eyes were kind, a kindness I didn't know existed. "My parents, they left," I managed to whisper. Chester, that's how he introduced himself, picked me up like I was made of glass. I smelled the soap and fresh earth that came from him. It was the smell of home. "Come on, let's get you some food. What's your name, son?" "John," I said quietly. "Well then, John, welcome to Oakwood Ranch." His house was simple, but it had something mine never had: peace. Farmhouse walls, wooden floors that creaked in a comfortable way. In the kitchen, a big table where a whole family could fit. He made me oatmeal with milk from his own cows. Each spoonful brought me back to life. "Easy there, John, easy. There's plenty more where that came from." Between spoonfuls, he asked gently, "Did your folks say anything? Did they say when they were coming back?" I shook my head no. He sighed like he already knew the answer. "Well, for now you stay here with me. We'll figure things out as we go." That first night, he gave me the room that would have been for the son he never had. A small bed with clean sheets that smelled like sunshine, a window facing the pasture. I woke up 3 times screaming, dreaming I was on the road again, and 3 times Chester appeared at the door. "Easy now, John. You're safe here. You're home." Home. First time I'd ever heard that word said with such certainty. The first few months were the hardest of my life. Not because of lack of care. Chester treated me better than my own parents ever had, but because of the pain I carried in my chest. Every morning I'd run to the road to see if my parents were coming back. I'd stand there straining to see down that dusty path until Chester came to get me. "Come on, John. The cattle are waiting for their morning check." At first I was afraid of them. They were huge, made sounds that reminded me of that lonely night at the gate. But Chester had the patience of a saint. "They can sense when you're scared, son. Be confident, but gentle. Same as with people." He taught me everything slowly and carefully, how to approach without spooking them, how to spot when one was sick, how to help during calving season. The first calf that was born while I helped, man, I'll never forget it. Tiny, wet, shaking from the cold. When it stood up and found its mama to nurse, something inside me healed just a little bit. "Life always finds a way to keep going," said Chester, seeing the wonder on my face. Little by little I understood that those animals weren't monsters. They were gentle creatures that needed care, just like me. Chester taught me more than ranching. He taught me to read better, do arithmetic, understand how the business worked. But most importantly, he taught me about having dignity. John, the land doesn't lie to a man. If you take good care of it, it takes care of you. And honest work is the only thing nobody can take away from you. There came a time when I was about 10 that I stopped running to the road every morning. It wasn't sudden. It was like when you stop feeling pain from an old injury. One day you realize it doesn't hurt anymore. Chester noticed. He always noticed everything. You're feeling at home now, aren't you? Yes, sir, I answered. And it was true. The ranch had become my world. I knew every acre, every animal, every fence post. I could tell when it was going to rain just by feeling the wind. I recognized each cow by its markings, and Chester had become the father I always needed. He never spoke badly of my birth parents. When I asked, and I asked a lot in those early years, he always said, "They did what they thought was best at the time, son. Sometimes life backs people into a corner, and they don't see any other way out." This helped me not to hold on to anger. Pain, yes. Longing, too. But not anger. When I turned 15, Chester threw a small celebration. Nothing fancy, just the two of us and our 3 ranch hands. But there was cake from Mrs. Eleanor in town, and even a present. A pocket knife with a wooden handle that I still carry today. "Now you're becoming a man," he said, "and every man needs tools that are his own." That night we talked until late. He told me he never managed to have children with his late wife, said that sometimes God closes one door to open another. "You showed up here on the day I needed family most." I think we saved each other. When I turned 18, Chester started teaching me about the business side of ranching. Bookkeeping, taxes, feed suppliers, cattle sales. "You need to understand everything, John. This ranch is going to be yours someday." I always thought he was just being kind. What did he mean mine? I was just a throwaway kid he found at his gate. But Chester meant every word. "Blood don't make family, son. Love does. You're my boy by choice, and that means more than any paper ever could." It was around this time that our first real crisis hit. A drought that lasted nearly 2 years. The pastures dried up. We had to sell half the herd. There were nights when Chester stayed up late in the kitchen, working numbers on paper, trying to figure out how to pay the hands. I could hear him sighing from my room. One of those nights, I got up the courage to sit with him. "Let me help." "You already help more than you know, son." "No, and let me really help. If this ranch is really going to be mine, I need to learn how to face the hard times with you." That's when our partnership became something deeper. It wasn't just man teaching boy anymore. It was father and son building something together. We made it through the drought. Wasn't easy. We had to take out loans, work 18-hour days, but we survived. When the rains finally came back, our remaining cattle thrived on the fresh grass. "See that?" said Chester, watching our herd in the green pasture. "The land always comes back. Always." In 1971, when I was 25, Chester found out he was sick. Cancer in his stomach already spread too far. The doctors in Kansas City said it was a matter of months. I remember clear as day when he told me. We were mending fence. He stopped, took off his hat and said, "John, I need to tell you something important." When he explained about the cancer, I felt like someone had knocked the wind right out of me. Not again. I couldn't lose him too. "Don't look like that," he said, seeing my face. "We've had more good years together than most fathers and sons get." During his final months, I learned what real courage looked like. Chester never complained. Not once. He used every day he had left to teach me what I still needed to know, get the paperwork in order, make sure I could run things on my own. "You're not that scared little boy I found at my gate anymore," he told me near the end. "You're a good man, John. Hard-working and honest. I couldn't be prouder if you were my own blood." When he passed away on a September morning, I felt an emptiness I thought would never heal. It was like they'd taken not just my father, but my whole world. I stayed locked in my room for 3 days. The ranch hands took care of everything. Funeral arrangements, cattle, daily operations. Mrs. Eleanor from town brought food I couldn't touch. On the fourth day, Bill, our oldest hand, knocked on my door. "John, with respect, but you need to get up. Chester didn't raise you to quit when things get tough." He was right. I got up, cleaned myself up, went out to check the cattle. And you know what I found? They were waiting for me. I won't lie to you folks. There was a period when I drank too much. After Chester died, I spent about 3 years trying to drown my grief in whiskey. Every evening after the work was done, straight to Murphy's Tavern in town. Until one day I looked in the bathroom mirror and saw my father. The same lost look, the same face of a man who'd given up. That scared me more than anything ever had. "No," I said to my reflection, "I won't become that." I quit drinking that very day. Wasn't easy, but I had work to keep me busy and cattle depending on me. For many years all I had was a piece of land and 2 calloused hands, but I had something more valuable. Everything Chester had taught me. Those first years on my own, I nearly went broke twice. The ranch was bigger than I could handle alone. Cattle buyers didn't take me seriously because I was young. There were times I thought about selling out and moving to Kansas City. But every time I got close to giving up, I remembered, the land doesn't lie. If you take care of it, it takes care of you. And you listening out there, have you ever been afraid to love someone because you were scared of being left again? At 35, I fell in love with the school teacher in town, Mary Catherine. She was a widow with a young son, Tommy, beautiful, smart, patient with my quiet ways. We courted for 2 years. She'd come out to the ranch on Sundays, bring Tommy along. That boy loved the cattle, called me Uncle John. For the first time, I thought about having a real family. When it came time to propose, I froze up. "John, don't you want to marry me?" she asked one Sunday evening. "I do, Mary Catherine, more than anything." "Then why won't you ask?" I couldn't find the words. How could I explain that I was terrified, scared of opening my heart completely and waking up to find her gone, like my parents? She waited another 6 months. Then she couldn't wait anymore. "John, I can't keep wondering if you really want a life with me. Tommy already loves you like a father. I love you, but you have to decide." I couldn't make that choice. She married the bank manager 2 years later. Today she has grandchildren, a good life. Sometimes I wonder what might have been if I'd been braver. I stayed on the ranch, focused on the work. Slowly, year by year, I kept growing. When money was good, I'd buy more land or more cattle. When times were lean, I'd saved enough to weather the storm. The 1980s were brutal. Inflation ate into profits. Interest rates went through the roof. There were years I thought about walking away from it all. But then I'd remember Chester's words about the land always coming back. By 40, I'd bought out my neighbor who was going under. By 50, I had the biggest operation in 3 counties. By 60, ranchers from across the state came to see how I did things. But success wasn't just about numbers. It was about what I did with it. Remember how Chester taught me about dignity. I decided to pass that forward. Every kid in trouble, every family down on their luck that came my way, found work, food, and respect here at Oakwood. Over the years, I've helped more than 20 families get back on their feet. Some of my workers' kids went to college on scholarships I provided. Today, they're teachers, nurses, even a lawyer. Every kid who shows up here finds what I found. A chance, I always told folks in town. It was my way of honoring Chester, turning pain into purpose. I never went looking for my birth parents. Could have hired someone. These days, it's not hard to track people down, but I never felt the need. Not that I wasn't curious. Some nights I'd wonder, did they ever regret it? Did they think about me? Did they have other children? But I learned that some doors you only open when you're ready for what's on the other side. And for a long time I wasn't ready, until yesterday. Yesterday a letter came in the mail. We don't get much mail way out here, so when something arrives it's usually important. The return address showed a name I didn't recognize, James Carter Wilson. But when I read what was inside, the family name was one I knew. The letter was from a man in his 30s claiming to be my nephew, son of a sister I never knew existed. A sister born after my parents left me at Chester's gate. In his letter, he explained that his mother had recently passed away. Before she died, she told him about an older brother their parents had abandoned at a ranch when he was small. "I've spent 2 years searching for you," he wrote. "My mother carried guilt about not trying to find you sooner. She always said our family felt incomplete without you." He told me our parents had died more than 20 years ago, that they'd spent their lives carrying the weight of what they'd done, that our father had actually tried to find me once but couldn't face what he'd done. "I'd very much like to meet you, sir. If you're willing, I'd like to bring my family to visit your ranch. I have 2 young children who would love to meet their great-uncle." Great-uncle. Never thought I'd hear those words. Here I sit now, holding this letter and that old photo of my parents, watching the sun set behind my cattle, the same sun that saw a scared little boy abandoned 70 years ago. You know what I've learned? Family isn't just the people who brought you into this world. Family is who stays when everything falls apart. And sometimes what looks like abandonment is just God opening a door you didn't know was there. If Chester hadn't found me at that gate, I never would have become the man I am. Never would have learned about dignity, honest work, unconditional love. Never would have been able to help all the folks I've helped. My parents leaving me wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. And now I have another choice to make. I can keep living with just the memories of what I've built, or I can open this new door life is offering me. I look at the letter again. James lives about 200 miles east of here, has young kids, a steady job, wants to meet me not out of duty, but because he genuinely cares. Maybe it's time to make peace with the past. Maybe it's time to learn that family can also be the people who find you when you're not even looking anymore. I'm going to call him tonight. Going to tell him, yes, come on out whenever you can. There's always room here for anyone who comes with an open heart. The cattle keep grazing in the evening light. They know what I've learned. Life finds a way to keep going. And sometimes it goes in directions more beautiful than we ever imagined. I stand up from this old chair, slip that photo back in my shirt pocket, same way I carried it that terrible day in 1953, and head inside to make that phone call. The road that brought me here was long and hard, but look where it led. Home. And you folks listening, have you ever stopped to think about the blessings that came disguised as heartbreak? Drop a comment and tell me, what door opened in your life when you thought everything was ending? Because sometimes what looks like the end is really just the beginning of something wonderful.